Hello and welcome to another episode of Blue Raider Extra Point. I'm Noah Brady, joined alongside Adam Brown and Dylan Simmons here in the heart of campus of Middle Tennessee State University. That's the Blue Raider Hall of Fame. Excited to bring you another week of Conference USA coverage. We're going to kick things off with Adam Brown, who's going to take us around the CUSA.
All right, Noah, we're going to check in on the two teams at the top of the standings in the conference. Let's take a look. Determination to make a bowl meets conference championship race in what should be two great games around the CUSA. Up first, we have Louisiana Tech traveling to UTSA. UTSA is coming off a bye week and should be well rested and prepared to take on the Bulldogs and try to maintain their spot as the top dog in the conference standings. Every conference matchup matters, but for the Roadrunners, it's that much more pressing with North Texas and WKU hot on their tail. Tech is coming off an impressive win over MTSU where they picked off Chase Cunningham 3 times. If they want to pull off the upset this week, they'll have to have similar production against the always electric Frank Harris. Tech is sitting at 3-6 with Charlotte and UAB left on the schedule, and their only way to a bowl is winning out. That starts this week against the best team in the conference. In our second game, we have North Texas taking on UAB. North Texas is on a 2-game CUSA win streak, including a massive win over Western Kentucky that positioned them to control their own destiny and play in the Conference USA Championship game if they take care of business down the stretch. However, that is easier said than done against this UAB team on the road. UAB is out of the conference race, but has been a solid team this season. They still have bowl eligibility on the table with a 4-5 record, but with their other 2 games being at LSU and at La Tech, they may have to have this one. Should be interesting to see how the postseason picture kind of comes into focus.
Yeah, really interested, especially in this UAB matchup coming up against North Texas. The biggest question I have is, what is UAB's ceiling? Now, we know they've got a backup quarterback in Jacob Zeno. They did take UTSA to double overtime, but how's that going to translate into the rest of the season? Should be interesting to see.
Definitely a marquee caliber matchup coming up at the top of the conference. But let's take a look at the rest of the matchups coming up around the CUSA. There's plenty more where that came from, so stay tuned. We'll be back with more on Blue Raider Extra Point.
If I could go back and change it all, I would. I think I'm gonna miss you the most. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Or maybe it's just the little moments. If I could go back and change it all, if I could go back, I would. But I can't.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
Welcome back to Blue Raider Extra Point here on True Blue TV. Let's see what Dylan Simmons has in store this week on the Big Blue Review.
Yeah, guys, for Big Blue Review, we've got men's basketball roaring into this season like Mufasa, and we're also going to be getting the latest on Rowdy Raider hockey. Let's take a look. Blue Raider men's basketball is 1-0 after a dominant start to the season against the Brescia Bearcats on Monday. The Raiders' defense came to play by holding Brescia to just 33.9% shooting from the floor. The offense was similarly dynamic, as they managed to break enough glass to be stone cold like Steve Austin, as they amassed an astonishing 52 points in the paint. The difference maker would have to have been Elias King, as he managed 10 points to go along with 7 rebounds, which earned him Player of the Game honors. MT would earn their season opening win by a score of 79-52. In addition, thanks to the quick nature of the game, MTSU was briefly the only unbeaten team in the land for a time. They hope to have a similar storyline play out throughout the rest of the season. The Rowdy Raiders faced a half-dome level steep challenge in the Indiana Hoosiers this past weekend. MTSU first played them on Friday at the Ice Castle, and saw things quickly go awry. Indiana began a scoring barrage early that was relentless until the bitter end, and was led by dynamic playmakers such as Paul Leto. The Hoosiers would end up claiming an 8-1 victory, and would send MT back to the drawing board. They would respond in kind in the Saturday game by counter-striking, with dynamic goal scoring set up by players such as Matt Siciliano. The Raiders also made a goalie swap by putting in Ryan Bobrow, who managed to take away many of IU's shots. It was not enough at the end, as Indiana still ended up walking away with a 7-5 victory. Next up, it's on to Palm Beach and Lynn University, where the Raiders will look to ride the waves like Bob Simmons to victory.
Alright guys, great to see men's basketball really establish themselves early in the season.
Yeah, Dylan, between that and your Rowdy Raider hockey coverage, I'm fired up. Those are my two favorite winter sports.
Like it.
Always good to get off the gridiron, get off the turf, and check out some of the other fall sports here on campus at MTSU. Let's take a look at the Blue Raider Spotlight.
On Tuesday, Conference USA reached an agreement with CBS Sports and ESPN on a 5-year deal that will make it easy to the average fan to find the games. There will be no more looking through Facebook or NFL Network trying to figure out if MTSU plays on those two platforms, because as part of the deal, CBS Sports and ESPN have become the exclusive right holders to the conference games. CBS Sports will get their choice of 18 games during football and another 18 games during the men's basketball seasons. The station will also carry the CUSA Football Championship game, Men's Basketball Championship game, Women's Basketball Semifinals and Finals, and championship games in both softball and baseball. Conference USA Commissioner Judy McLeod stated that building on our strong relationships with CBS and ESPN enabled us to provide increased exposure and consistent broadcast homes for our membership and fans as we continue to see the landscape of Conference USA and college athletics evolve. As you can tell, consistency was something that was very important in the negotiations in this media rights deal. Another fascinating detail about the new deal is that football conference games in October will be played on ESPN's linear networks, which gives Conference USA the exposure that they were unable to have in these past media deals. MTSU Athletic Director Chris Massaro put out a statement saying that MTSU has done this before in the Sun Belt Conference, and that students did a great job of rallying behind the team in these games, as it gives the team more attention to a national audience. Massaro said that this new deal will also financially benefit MTSU as well, because financial distributions will increase by 70%, national exposure will increase by 20%, and overall content will triple. This deal looks like it's a big win for the conference and could also help MTSU in recruiting along the way. For MTN Sports, I'm Zachary Lone.
Unfortunately, we have to take a quick TV timeout. We'll be right back here on True Blue TV.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome back. Up next with the scoop, we have Grant Langston on the line with the Niner Times.
Joining me on the scoop is Bryson Foster from the Niner Times. Thanks for coming on, Bryson. let's start out with some of the woes of both of these teams. Middle Tennessee State and Charlotte have not been good down the stretch of this season. What do you hope to see the 49ers improve upon this week?
Well, the defense has been a major struggle for this team all year long. I mean, you're giving up almost 43 points a game, which, hey, that's not a winning philosophy for any team. The run game is where Charlotte struggles. This season, they've given up quite a bit of yards, 2,229 to be exact. So defense has to step up against, we don't know who the quarterback is for MTSU. If it's Chase Cunningham, he's a great dual threat. So Charlotte's going to have to watch out.
That's certainly true. And you're right. We don't know if Chase is going to start or if we might see one of the backups this weekend. Could you just give me a player or two that you look to either stand out or hope to see make a big play this Saturday in Murfreesboro against the Blue Raiders?
When it comes to receiving, Charlotte's got a three-headed monster of Elijah Spencer, Grant DeBose, and Victor Tucker. But Grant DeBose is really the deep threat for Charlotte. He's got 645 receiving yards, 8 touchdowns. Chris Reynolds, our 6-year quarterback, loves to throw to Grant because he can go up and get those balls. So definitely Grant DeBose is one to watch out for.
Well, I can't argue with getting the ball to Grant, but we will certainly have an interesting matchup with the Middle Tennessee State secondary and those flashy wide receivers. Thank you for joining me, Bryson, and thank you for all that inside scoop. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Grant, for that great insight.
And now Ryan Martinez will show us what we need to find those nuggets of gold against the 49ers in this week's Scouting Report. Let's take a look.
Both teams are coming in with losing records and are looking for a W to put in the win column. For Charlotte, this 2-8 squad has struggled all season, primarily due to their defense, which is giving up 43 points per game and 515 yards per game. When you break it down, they gave up 292 yards passing and 223 yards rushing per game. All of these numbers add up to Charlotte being at the bottom of the CUSA in defense in these categories. They haven't put much pressure on the quarterback this season, and they haven't forced many turnovers either. But MTSU hasn't protected their quarterbacks well this season, giving up 2.5 sacks per game. For the 49ers offense, they average 270 yards passing per game and are led by senior quarterback Chris Reynolds, who will certainly be looking to air the ball out to the team's 2 leading receivers, sophomore Elijah Spencer and junior Grant DeBose, who has combined for 100 receptions, nearly 1,500 receiving yards, and 16 touchdowns. The ground game hasn't been a big producer for them, as they only average 114 yards per game and 3.7 yards per carry. Their leading rusher is Shadrick Bird and has rushed for 518 yards and 4 touchdowns on the year. Protection will be key, as the 49ers offensive line has given up 30 sacks so far on the year. So stopping Zaylen Wood and Jordan Ferguson of the Blue Raiders defense will be key, as the team leads Conference USA in total sacks.
And he goes down.
Thanks, Ryan, for showing us how to get that big gold belt against Charlotte.
All right, guys, so the stage is set for a Military Appreciation Day matchup here at Floyd Stadium. Talk to me about what MTSU needs to do to be successful against Charlotte.
Yeah, guys, my first key is going to be turnovers taste like trash. Guys, we saw against Louisiana Tech what cost us the game? Turnovers. That was the biggest problem we had, and it started with Chase Cunningham, which he had 3 interceptions, and I think he understands he's got to limit that. They're going to have to do that better in order to win this game against Charlotte.
Dylan, this might be me throwing a challenge or a curveball at you, but that was almost as bland as rice. Give me something better for your next couple of teams, man.
Okay, fine. How about this? No-fly zone. The MTSU secondary has had issues all year stopping quarterbacks, and what's Charlotte's biggest strength? A quarterback who can hold his water at the point of attack. That's Chris Reynolds. This guy can absolutely lay the ball out. MTSU has to stop that in order to win. And finally, my third key, last chance to dance. I'm giving MTSU one last chance to really impress me. I know we've only got a couple episodes left as is, but they have to understand that bowl eligibility is starting to slip away. They've got to play with a fire and a ferocity to get there. This is going to be a big one. They've got to grasp these stakes and come out with a lot of passion to win this game.
I like that. Adam, what do you got?
Well, guys, I think we can agree that MTSU is the better team in this game. And so my keys are centered around what the better team has to do to keep from getting upset. And Dylan, great minds think alike. My first one is also about turnovers. My first key is limit turnovers. Better teams let the other team hang around by committing turnovers. So the best way off the jump to limit that ability of the other team to get that upset is to limit turnovers. And then 2 is a fast start. The other reason the lesser team usually wins these games is they hang around early, they start to believe, then they make a game out of it, and it gets closer than we'd be comfortable with. So we have to get a fast start, jump on them early, and never take our foot off the gas. 3 is limit big plays and make big plays. Momentum shifting plays are the nail in the coffin both ways in these type of games. If MTSU is making the big plays, we crush that belief like I was talking about early, and then we can kind of run away with it a little bit. If Charlotte makes the big plays, they start to believe, they maybe get a turnover, and then we don't know what happens. So limit the ability to be upset.
How about this for a military-themed key? Red, white, and blue. What color do you not find on the American flag? A Charlotte color green. MTSU's got to play off that energy. They're back at home, coming off of a really tough game, Adam, like where you talked about, where they were the team who went into that one as not as the underdog. They were the favorite in that one. And what did they do? They go on the road, they get upset. At home, they're playing in front of their guys who might be starting to lose a little bit of confidence in them. But like you said, they're on the brink of that bowl eligibility, trying to take that next step, trying to get back to that winning form. So red, white, and blue. My next key, limit screen vision. The only screen that I want to see when I'm watching the MTSU game is that TV screen. I don't want to see any frame in a frame, if you will, with the screens inside the screen. You know what I'm saying? I just want to see the TV screen, and I want to see the air raid. Chase Cunningham, I want to see him throwing the ball 50, 60 yards down the field, see a very strong Frank Peasant, who's back looking in his true form, coming off that injury that he had a couple weeks ago. I want to see more of him and establish that run game early on.
Third down passes to the sticks.
Yes, to the sticks, absolutely. And finally, stay in the race. Dylan, you talked about this earlier. MTSU, this is a desperation time for them. They've only got 2 games left at home. They've only had 5 games at home this season.
Yes.
That's not something that's really working in favor for these Conference USA teams, is limited time back at home, a lot of time spent on the road. Now, I'll bring up that Miami win again, huge confidence builder, but what have they done with that since then? Nothing. They've flatlined since then. Stay in the race, become bowl eligible. That's our keys for MTSU to be successful on the homestand today against Charlotte.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move. So I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
Welcome back to the Blue Raider Hall of Fame. It is our favorite part of the show. It is time for the picks. And joining us for the picks, we have Elena Lynchard of the MTSU women's soccer team. Elena, thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right, Dylan, we're starting it off with you. We're going to start with Rice and Western Kentucky.
Yeah, guys, Bland Rice versus Western Kentucky. Honestly, it's hard to even pick this game. I mean, Rice has been beyond inconsistent and downright unreadable. This has been more hard to figure out than a high schooler trying to read Romeo and Juliet for the first time. I mean, they're just coming off a win over UTEP. They look good. TJ McMahon had 334 yards and 2 scores, so they've looked pretty good so far, but are they going to keep that up? That's the question. WKU, they basically just old yellered Charlotte. We don't need to go into how bad it was, but just know this. Austin Reed was the CUSA Player of the Week offensively, so the guy's pretty darn good. I think this one is going to be about who's more consistent. That's unfortunately Western. Give me WKU.
Dylan, did you have to bring up Old Yeller? That gets me every time.
I know, man. I cry
Western
every time.
is a 13-point favorite at home, and as much as I want to pick against them with their terrible helmets this week, I can't do it with that high-powered offense. Even though Rice has been surprising people, I think that continues, and I think they cover, but Western wins.
Elena, who are you thinking? You can't take Western in this one, can you?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Rice just because of our rivalry with
And
Western.
I'm going to jump on that bandwagon with you.
go
All
with your
signs
upsets.
are pointing towards Western Kentucky this week, guys. Austin Reed is playing phenomenal football. 28 touchdown completions and only 6 interceptions. And on the other side, on the Rice side, I should say, that comparison, not as strong. But at the end of the day, this is a 6-4 Western team against a 5-4 Rice team. It'll be close, could come down to a last-second field goal, but I do think Rice walks out of Hilltopper country stealing a win. Let's go North Texas at UAB.
Yeah, guys, the Mean Green have shocked me as of late. They've been playing some pretty good football. They dismantled Western Kentucky. They dismantled FIU. The defense only gave up 14 points in each of those games. They've gotten themselves better from real estate. They're going to eminent domain. They're taking land instead of giving it up now. So I love to see the progression. I mean, you're talking Austin Ayu, and he had 414 and 5 touchdowns against FIU, albeit a really bad FIU team, as we know. But he's looked pretty good so far. UAB, I think they're really missing Dylan Hopkins right now. Dwayne McBride Jr., he can take you very far, but when you don't have that consistent quarterback play, it hurts at the end of the day. And I think that's what's going to hurt them in this game as well. Give me North Texas.
So UAB is a 6-point favorite at home, but as of late, and I touched on this in Around the CUSA, the balance of power at the top has kind of shifted. North Texas has taken that second spot from UAB, and I think that's going to continue, and they're going to double UAB's spread against them on the road.
Elena, what are you thinking?
Well, in the soccer world, both teams are pretty solid, but I think I'm going to go with North Texas. Pretty feisty down there.
I like the Mean Green in this one, and this is going to be a showdown at Protective Stadium, guys. The Blazers come into this one as a 6-point favorite, Adam, like you said, and last year, they took this one 40-6. As Kermit the Frog would say, it's not easy beating the Green.
Oh my gosh.
And so that's all I have to say about that one. La Tech at UTSA.
All right, guys, you know, UTSA has been absolute money for CUSA. I'm going to miss them in 2023, guys. It's hard to see them go. Now, good
Don't
team.
get too attached because this conference is just reshaping more and more
True,
on a day-to-day
yeah.
basis.
Let's go Kennesaw State. Anyway, it's good to see them back in the fold and getting wins. And, you know, guys, good teams find a way to win games. That's what they did in their last game. Frank Harris with 285, 4 touchdowns. Zachary Franklin, of course, masterful, as well as Van Gogh, 2 touchdowns of his own. To me, if this UTSA team can develop a running game, that's going to be the biggest thing to put them to the next level. And they may have that with Kavarian Barnes, who had an unbelievable game as well. Now, as for Louisiana Tech, we saw what they did to MTSU. We don't need to go into what they did, but just know that Parker McNeil emerged pretty well, played some good football. I also like what Marquise Crosby did in that game as well. It's going to be UTSA at the end of the day, guys. They're the CUSA champions, and they're going to repeat it once again. These Roadrunners are just too hard to stop right now.
Yeah, Dylan, you mentioned that offense, and it is so much fun to watch. The La Tech defense is not getting the same kind of production they got against MT. I think UTSA runs away with this one.
Elena?
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree. They just took home the women's soccer championship. They're on a roll. I think they're going to take this one too.
Guys, I'm all about a good upset, but UTSA, I'm kind of hoping that they just put their foot down against La Tech this week. We obviously, Dylan, we saw what happened last week against MTSU, or with La Tech against MTSU, and I just want La Tech to be reminded of their place, and that's at the very bottom of the Conference USA standings, and that's rightfully where they belong.
Salty a little bit, are we?
Not bowl eligible, might I add. FAU at FIU.
Yeah, you know, it's going to be the Shula Bowl, guys. Unless we forget, FIU lost 73-0 to WKU. But if I had told you that after all that, this FIU team would win 4 games, would you have believed me? Because I don't think so. This FIU team did beat Louisiana Tech 42-34. FAU's biggest problem has been their inconsistency with N'Kosi Perry. But when you look at FIU, this offense was as bad as Tim Tebow was at tight end at Jacksonville. I mean, they have had issues galore, and I think it's going to come down to also if FAU and N'Kosi Perry can stop trying to force things. I think they will. Give me FAU in the Shula Bowl.
Okay. FIU has quietly built up kind of a respectable record with, you know, how much we've hated on them, but I still don't think it's enough to beat FAU. FAU gets it done.
Elena, what are you thinking?
I don't know. A home game in Miami. I'm going to go with FIU.
Okay, I like it. Hey, this is, guys, you talking about the records kind of going back and forth and what this 4-5 record means for both of these teams. But at the end of the day, they both come into it 4-5. This is a Sunshine State Conference rivalry. I really like FAU in this one. They've won all 5 of the last matchups between these squads. Guys, my upset sense, it's tingling here on this one, though. I'm going to have to take FIU at home. I like them. I don't know why, but I like them for some reason. Okay, all right. Charlotte at MTSU. Let's bring it home.
All right, guys, I'm going to be honest. It's time for MTSU to take a page out of John Cena's book and play with ruthless aggression. I mean, we've seen in the past few weeks how MTSU has been defeated in ways that beggar belief. I mean, they lost to Louisiana Tech simply because they shot themselves in the foot. They committed 4 turnovers. That cannot stand. I'll get into that as well as we keep going with this. But they're going up against a Charlotte team that they are in the pit of misery right now as far as CUSA is concerned. 2-8. All they have is Chris Reynolds, and he is trying to carry an offense that has been flatter than Topeka, Kansas. He can't do it all himself, and I think that, at the end of the day, is the issue. That's going to be the difference. MTSU is going to come back, play with consistency, and play with a passion. Give me the Blue Raiders. And by the way, Charlotte is the capital. I heard this. The capital of pimento cheese. I can't even get the dang cheese out. But, as The Rock would say, that kind of cheese absolutely sucks. We're going to see MTSU win.
I love it. Adam, good luck topping that one, but tell me something.
You got so late into that pick that I was like, oh, he's not going to pull something out of his pocket.
I was giving you a false sense of security.
I know. Yeah. Now I know you did it on purpose, and I hate you for it. But MTSU is an 11-point favorite this week. I think they double that spread and win by 22. Charlotte's the worst team in the conference, and I think MTSU gets it done.
Elena, I know you're picking MTSU in this one, but how much are they winning by here?
50.
50. MTSU by 50.
Raiders by 50.
I love it. Now that is why. Now y'all know why she was the guest picker on this week.
Because
she's got that Blue Raider confidence, and that's exactly what I think MTSU needs to ride on coming into this one. They're experiencing what I would call the 6 degrees of separation from the win column, and right now, especially against with an ugly performance against a La Tech team who didn't deserve that win. MTSU spoon-fed it to them, and they still didn't deserve it. They still tried to wiggle their way out of it, but I mean, guys, they got it. If you're MTSU, you got to get back to your identity, and that identity cannot be found in a telegraphed screen pass game, which I still don't understand after weeks on television why that we still have screenplays in our playbook, because 10 times out of 10, they do not work.
You've been begging them to stop.
I'm off my soapbox on it, guys. I like MTSU at home in this one. I think they get one step closer to bowl eligibility. Give me the Blue Raiders.
Be sure to follow us on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter for all your Blue Raider coverage and more.
Well, Elena, it was awesome to have you today on Blue Raider Extra Point. And I got to say, I had the distinct honor this past semester of being able to do ESPN Plus play-by-play for a lot of your games. And I got to say, watching you guys and seeing what you did this season, how are you going to translate what you've learned from this year and take that going into 2023?
Yeah, so we struggled a little bit this season, but I think after it all, we know what we need to work on, and we're going forward, just working hard for preparing for the next season.
Well, 2 steps forward for 1 step back,
Yes.
right?
That's right.
Well, Elena, again, thank you so much for joining us, and we wish you well in the
having
next
me.
season. Yes, absolutely. Thank you all so much for joining us here on Blue Raider Extra Point.
If you missed this or any other episode, you can check it out on MiddleTennesseeNews.net and hit the sports tab.
Be sure to follow us at MTN Sports on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Thank you all so much for watching, and we will see you next week.
So FIU is another team that you have made fun of that is at 500 or almost there.
Yeah, I got a new name for them. Failures International University. 4 of the worst wins I've ever seen. They beat, they lost to UConn, right? I mean, this team sucks, man.
You know, it's possible that FIU makes a bowl and Miami doesn't, right?
That one hurt.
That hurts. Okay, no. We don't even talk about that. We don't even need to talk about I'd have to leave. I have to leave MTSU. I have to leave the show. I have to leave the country. You would never see this face again. No. I mean, I'm already skating on thin ice after that MTSU Miami pick. No one's ESPN and Fox are never going to hire me at this rate.
We would have a T-shirt where the
Florida
front
International's definitely not hiring you now.
The front of the T-shirt is you on Brett before the Miami loss. The back of it is you after FIU makes a bowl game and Miami doesn't. We can just turn back and forth with your 2 reactions.
I think I burned a bridge with a lot of CUSA teams.
Dylan Simmons, one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. You get a camera on him, he becomes a savage.
The black truck? Hey, Christina from accounting.
Yeah, hi.
Hey, I used to date a girl named Christina.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then she dumped me for my best friend. You want to see some photos of them that I took?
I don't.
I thought we talked about this, buddy.
Buzzed and overshared again?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna call a car.
That's a smart idea.
So, yeah, I know, that's why I did it.
Hey, you're gonna get back to the top of the mountain.
Does that mean I'm gonna get back with Christina?
No.
Oh.
No.
My
Thank you.
Thank you.
Never gonna let you go.